Welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talk, and welcome to the aftermath of the college football season. The conference championship games already played this previous weekend. This is my third attempt at recording this video. I made a video the night of the selection, and it was very heated. Very heated. Because I've seen a lot of comments on Twitter, seen reactions about everyone else on other networks, especially ESPN, see how people quickly flip the script on the scenario. Then Monday morning, watching Get Up and listening to other people, and especially Paul Feinbaum, how he was so adamant about Alabama being in. And then this morning again, hearing the exact same thing, and now Brother Dinich is also championing the exact same thing, and listen to Jeff Saturday back the decision, and listen to Dominic Foxworth, and completely just puncture the narrative. Same thing, Booger McFarland's already done that on Sunday. I mean, if you've been living underneath the rock this past weekend, you realize he had the conference championship games. In a lot of scenarios, a lot of people say if these teams win, they're in. A lot of people say if Michigan beats Iowa, they're in. If Washington beats Oregon, they're in. Or Oregon beats Washington, I think Oregon will probably get in. Oregon was a little long shot, but they had more of a chance than anyone else. Everyone thought Texas, if they won, they were definitely, the first wild card. Especially like Washington got beat by Oregon, but then you can make the argument between Oregon and Texas. Then it came Florida State. There was even Kurt Herbstreit was saying this, that he still didn't believe Florida State was one of the four best teams. All because of Jordan Travis being injured in a game against North Alabama. And that's when his backup, Tate Rodmaker, came in, won that game. He was the starter quarterback against Florida, then got injured with concussion. So they go to their third string against Louisville, and it was mainly the defense that saved the game, which defenses help win championships. That's why football is a team sport. And then you looked at the Georgia-Alabama. It's like, what if happened to Alabama beat Georgia, which was a high probability. I even said, even though I picked Georgia, I said I was uneasy about that pick. And sure enough, Alabama did it. They knocked off Georgia, the number one team in the country. I think everyone had that in there, except me. Actually, I had Washington number one. But then came the controversy. You had three undefeated Power 5 conference champions. Never in the history of this playoffs has a undefeated conference champion be left out. I mean, we saw skewed up matchups during before the BCS era, and then we saw it again during the BCS era. We had a few scenarios there that were like head scratching. I'll let you know those were just figure skating. I mean, they basically what it is. Mike Greenberg said it the best with this selection. It's a return the committee into judges, figure skating judges. Looking for style points. Style points don't flippin' matter. Sorry. That's what happens on the field. Did Florida State win all their games? Yes. Did they lose their starting quarterback? Yes. Were they the same offense as previously? No. Does that really matter? Absolutely not. But when it comes to the committee, they had to factor in a lot of things, and it was definitely a 5-team race. Because you look at Alabama, who just knocked off what they perceived the best team in the country. The best team in the country still can technically have a avenue. And then you have Texas, who beat Alabama in Alabama early in the season. Now note, the Alabama team from that time frame, the Alabama team that just won SEC, slightly different. So I understand the plight the committee was in. And they're saying that they didn't have any thing about leaving out the SEC. That wasn't a factor. They're going, what's happening on the field? But they continued to go back to the same BS narrative that because Jordan Travis was injured, they perceived Florida State offense would not put up a good a game. They perceived it. Alabama won by a single score. Washington won by a single score. Michigan struggled offensively against Iowa. Florida State struggled for most of the game, but ended up winning by 2 scores. So, looking at that narrative, the only team that looked impressive offensively was Texas. It was defenses. Now, somebody on Twitter said it perfectly. If the Florida State-Louisville game was the SEC championship game, they would be praising it right now. Tell me I'm wrong. Always been set as precedent that to pretty much almost guarantee your inclusion into the playoff is to be undefeated and a conference champion in your major conference. Yes, there's 5 major conferences, only 4 slots. If that's the case, someone get left off. And you can argue if that happens, someone had to go. Now, if Texas and Alabama were undefeated, I would get the exclusion of Florida State. Texas and Alabama are undefeated. They both lost. Texas lost to Oklahoma. Alabama lost to Texas. So Texas automatically gets put ahead of Alabama. Alabama gets put ahead of Georgia. But other things I've seen on Twitter, it's like one person put when they were showing the reactions of the individual teams, and they showcased Michigan, who was like the number 1. When they faced Alabama, you had a weird, response, and they're like, well, because now they're afraid they have to take Alabama, and they'll get an easy win against Florida State. They're probably shocked that Alabama got in, and not Florida State. Because you can probably make the argument of Texas being better than Florida State because Texas is the Big 12 champion and beat SEC champ. You might be able to, convince people of that argument, and I wouldn't have fought you that because Florida State's been down that road before, where one loss team's been ranked higher than them in the playoff. But everyone tends to forget 2014, Ohio State got in on a third stringer. They always want to throw that TCU game against Georgia. TCU won the semifinal against Michigan. Everyone forgets that aspect. Stephen A. Smith. TCU beat Michigan in the semifinal. Now, did it get their butts handed to them in the championship game? Absolutely. No, it's evident. It happened. We have the tape. TCU just did not show up to play that game. Everything they had set up, Georgia was prepared for. That happens. That happens. That happens when teams don't show up and they struggle and end up losing. The Red rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma. Oklahoma showed up, beat Texas. You look at a game between Michigan and Maryland. Maryland gave Michigan everything they could handle. Georgia and Auburn. Auburn gave Georgia all they could handle. Missouri and Georgia. Missouri was actually was giving Georgia all they could handle early. Auburn, Alabama, the Iron Bowl, last game of the regular season. Alabama need a miracle to win that game. If certain things went a certain direction, and Auburn beat Alabama, we would not be having this conversation. We could complain about Texas being over Florida State, but in the end of the day, Florida State would be in the game, be in the playoffs, because they're not going to put a 2-loss conference champion over an undefeated conference champion. If they did that, then we understand this whole system is rigged. I do believe it's SEC bias. I do believe Florida State got screwed. To add to the conundrum of this, when they expanded the playoffs to 12, Florida State, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten all decided to not implement the system this year. I guess Florida State's kicking themselves, or the ACC's kicking themselves right now for not doing that. And I think this will be a debate that will go on for years. Did the committee get it right? And then we'll say, well, we'll see what happens in the Orange Bowl. It's not going to be the exact same thing. Players are going to skip out of that game because they have no reason to go into play that game. There's no incentive. It's going to be lopsided. Georgia is going to be favored, and they're our favorite now. I think I didn't look at the odds, but I think Greenberg said on the Get Up on the Tuesday morning or this morning, depending on when you watch this video or when I actually get this thing out. They're favored by 15. Now, I'm not saying that Florida State was going to win a semifinal match. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the regular season matters. That's all I hear about everyone when they talk about expanding the playoffs. It's like, well, the regular season doesn't matter now, then does it? Yeah, it does. Still does. Because now you have 6 conference champions get in. Guaranteed. Out of 10, 6 conference champions. Now, once all the conference realignments, now you'll have the Power 4, and then 2 at large, or 2 group will get in. So, like this year, it would have been Liberty and SMU. There'll be controversy on which 2-loss school gets in. That's fine. I mean, that's not going to really, it's kind of like a coin toss. Which 2-loss school you bring in? You bring in Oklahoma, who beat Texas, but lost Oklahoma State, who played Texas in the Big 12 championship. Ole Miss, who lost to both Alabama and Georgia, not even close. Penn State, who lost to Penn State or lost to Ohio State, Michigan, they had some fight in those games, but ended up losing. Mizzou was another one, definitely up there. So which one of those two lost schools gets left out? I mean, personally, I would not have Ole Miss in. But see, those type of scenarios that we could have to be talking about now, about which two-loss team should have got in. And you look at the 12 teams out there, and I'll have the graphic up showing that the what a 12-team format would have looked like. Or could have looked like, should I put it that way. And in the day, I mean, that will probably be the best option. But still, I wouldn't call it a true championship. Because if you look at any other sport, any other league out there, and you have an undefeated conference champion not vying for a title, or undefeated team not vying for a title, you have issues. So Florida State and Liberty have something to complain about. Now, will Liberty actually be in there? No. Because of Conference USA. But also, this is the Conference USA that had New Mexico State, who went to Auburn and thumped them. Same Auburn that gave Georgia and Alabama issues got trounced by New Mexico State. But for me, I think the only way the FBS can truly claim a national champion is to adopt an FCS-style playoff. And they'll never will, because that'll seriously decrease the number of bowl games. And the bowl games are instrumental in local economies. A lot of them have a lot of history, pageantry, like the rose and the cotton, the sugar, the orange, the peach, the sun, the liberty, the independence. I mean, all those have a lot of pageantry associated with it, a long history with college football. And just to push that aside, no, you won't be able to do that. And nor should you. I still think you should still have bowls. I really do. I mean, it's a fundamental part of college football. Everything FCS has some bowl games besides the Celebration Bowl. I mean, not a lot. I mean, pair it off between a couple of conferences, and there you go. You get like one bowl game per conference. That Highlands, though, that don't get into the playoff, a chance to kind of give one last hurrah for their team. One last, recruitment tool. One last time to add a little revenue. At the end of the day, that's the decision. Regardless of how you feel, how I feel. Do I think Florida State belonged in there? Absolutely. I would have left Alabama out. I understand that's going to cause controversy and it's going to cause a lot of backlash from SEC fans. I get that. I do. But when you set a precedent that a undefeated Power 5 conference champion should be in the playoffs, McElroy said that the week prior. And then afterwards, he praised the committee getting it right. Carter Herbstreit was already planting the seeds early. That he had questions about Florida State. That right there should have given you a clue exactly how it was going to play out. Everyone keeps going, well, it could have been this way, and Florida State could have got, manhandled, could have another, 40-14 shellacking in the semifinals. You don't know that, And that's another BS excuse. But at the end of the day, the College Football Playoff Committee is running a business. College football is a business. Whether you want to agree with it or not, it is a business. Conferences or schools are there to make money. A lot of that money does go back to the athletic department, but not all of it. I'm sorry, if an athletic department has a $10 million budget, there's an issue. I understand you got to replace equipment. I understand you got to update facilities. Ensure that, the women's lacrosse team has, or field hockey, depending on how you want to word it, has their equipment. But it's too much money going to these schools, nothing going to the student athletes who are ones are risking personal injury for the game that they love. And not all of them are on scholarships, so they have to pay for school. They have to find ways to buy new clothes, buy school supplies. They can't have jobs because it's going to interfere with practice. Talking about this NIL, it's only for a handful of students that get those deals. There's a whole mess of issues I have with the current landscape of college football. A whole mess of them. And this realignment's one of them, and players not getting their fair share. Or at least a slice of the pie. I'm talking about all the players. Not just a handful, all of them. If they suited up for a game and played, they deserve a piece. And going back to this business aspect, the committee is looking which schools will give you the best viewership, the most. As one of my instructors when I went to school said, cheeks in the seats, eyeballs on the TV screen. Michigan with Jim Harbaugh and his possible last hurrah. The return of the Texas Longhorns to the national stage of being relevant and fighting for a championship. Alabama and Nick Saban and what he has done with that program, the time frame he has been there. And Washington with Michael Penix Jr. and Heisman hopeful. At least Florida State out. Florida State running with a backup quarterback. Could they actually, be relevant? It's a Cinderella story. That's why we watch the NCAA tournament. You look for those Cinderella stories. You look for the underdog. You want to root for the underdog. You like it when St. Peter's made a run. You like it when Leo Chicago made a run. You like it when Gonzaga at the time frame made it all the way. You like it when Butler wasn't considered a major program, make it to the back-to-back Final Fours. We all try to find those, those sleeper picks in the tournaments, and 9.5 times out of 10 you get them wrong. I know I do. But that's what it is. It is what's going to be marketable for TV. The committee members can say whatever. The story that Heather put out on ESPN kind of says that. I will admit I kind of hit the highlights of it, and it's just one of those things. I mean, it's Alabama brings that prestige, Texas brings that prestige, Florida State has that prestige. But for some reason, Florida State got left out, just because, as they considered, losing Jordan Travis made them a less viable option to be competitive. And that's straight BS. Just like when they did not put UCF in there when they went undefeated. Until they do a FCS-style 24-team tournament, I think that's the best. Limit the aspect where you can lose no more than 3 games. So if you lose 4 games, you will not get an at-large spot. Guaranteed 6 slots to the group. That means 5 conference champion and 1 at-large. I think you have a winning formula. You can still have the bowl games. You definitely reduce the amount of bowl games in there. I'll get off my soapbox. Do I think the committee got it right? Absolutely not. Personally, I do not think they got it right. Because the point index had Washington 1, Michigan 2, Florida State 3, Texas 4. One of ESPN's metrics out there has Florida State 3. So undefeated, Power 5 conference champion. And you're saying that's not good enough. Business-wise, was this the right decision? Yes. No doubt about it, business-wise, this was the best option. Does it make it right? No. But business-wise, it's the best option. Would they have done in the field? No. I would like to see Liberty in there. Have the 4 undefeated programs go at it. And Liberty probably get demolished. But that's just me. That's how I would have done that. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's just one of these things that you have to kind of look at both sides of the coin and look at this argument. Try and take your emotion out of it. And that's hard to do. I mean, I try to take my emotion out of this one. That's why it's my 3rd attempt doing this. And I still had it in there. It's just one of these weird type of things. And then to top that off, with that New Year's 6 selection, that the committee ranked Liberty higher than SMU, who beat ranked Tulane to win the American. And the American's upset because SMU got overlooked. But we go back to the thing. And let you know the hypocrisy with the committee. The committee goes, Liberty's undefeated. But they don't apply that to Florida State. I mentioned before, in the 12-team format, you still got the controversy with which 2-loss team gets left out. Or do you bring in Liberty and SMU and leave out two-loss teams? That's next year's problem. Remember, the alliance of the ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 did not allow for the 12-team format to take place. So I guess the ACC is going to be kicking themselves, I guess, as I said prior, kicking themselves for not allowing that to happen this year. But it was all said and done. This is what I got stuck with. You're not going to change anyone's mind. They're not going to turn around and go, oh, yeah, we made a mistake. Let's flip these. They're not going to do it. Everything's set. We have to live with it. We can talk about this till we're blue in the face, and the cows come home, the pigs fly. But in the day, it's a done deal. And we all can be on our opposite hills, shouting at each other, fighting our battles right there. Doesn't matter. So we have our spats here on YouTube. We have our spouts on Twitter, spouts on Reddit, spouts wherever you comment on college football. In the day, it is Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. Will there be some really good matchups? Absolutely. They should be some of the closest semifinal games. At least on paper. We want not to play the game. But hey, I ran Reddit long enough, and I'm just trying to get this video out. I know it is 2 days late and $300 short, but it's one of these I want to get the right tone across. I don't want to come too brash and really bash too much. I just want to throw quick little jabs. I think quick little jabs fine. Understand the business aspect of this. As a fan, I think it's wrong. I went in a different direction. I'm not a committee. I do not envy their position at all. Alabama had a legit claim. Texas had a legit claim. Even Georgia had a legit claim. So did Florida State. Ohio State could try to sneak in there, but they weren't in their conference championship, so they were the odd man out to begin with. In the game, am I still going to watch these ball games? Probably. I probably will. All right. But hey, let me know down below, do you think the committee got it right? Or do you think this is more of a business decision? Do you think committees and polls is more of a figure skating judgment like Mike Greenberg had said before? And it's always been like that. Let's be civil, let's be cordial. The most interactions really helps. The algorithms really help get this out to the masses. Let other people chime in and bring their 2 cents in, and see if we can come make a consensus. Also, if you've made it to the end and you really enjoy my work, go ahead and smash that thumbs up. It really pleases YouTube algorithms. It really helps, like I said, get this out to the ether. Pleases the almighty YouTube gods, the almighty algorithm. So everyone can see this nice chisel face and go, what the heck is this guy talking about? Another thing you can do that can really help me out is subscribe. Over 9% of you guys that come view my stuff are not subscribed. If you made it to the end, that means you might like hearing what I say and try to follow my logic, and sometimes it lacks. And sometimes I don't make a point, but sometimes I do. And like I'm doing right now, if you like the ramblings of a crazy old man, go hit that subscribe button. Click that bell icon. Turn on notification. Let you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And until then, I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.